Whether you're already deep into your Switch 2 library or still figuring out what to play next, we've now covered the full upgrade situation. So every game that gets a free boost and every game with a paid upgrade so far. Both of those videos linked below. Today though, we're going to be talking about something bigger. The games you can only play on Switch 2. And to be clear up front here, I don't mean exclusive to the Nintendo platform. I simply mean there is no Switch 1 version. So if you're playing these on Nintendo, you have to have the new hardware. And there's way more than you might expect. 40 so far. So if this helps you out today, do me a favor, subscribe, and let's get into it. Alright, alphabetical order for this one today, quick fire, starting with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now this one takes the series to Japan, with a shinobi and a samurai that you can eventually switch between. You're going to be exploring this massive world. And the frame rate can wobble in busy areas, and there are definitely better examples if you want to truly show off the Switch 2's power visually. But yeah, I think overall, it still looks really nice. As for the game itself, I'm somewhere in the middle. It's a typical Ubisoft experience, meaning a ton of activities, but not quite enough personality. But look, if you want big and cinematic, it's a good option. Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster brings the now classic 3DS JRPG over with sharper visuals, a cleaner UI, and just a huge improvement. You're going to be following, though, a group of heroes. They're on a journey to restore 4 corrupted crystals, and that is to save the world. It's still the same game you potentially remember. It's a remaster, not a remake. And I honestly don't know why it couldn't have launched on Switch 1 as well, but look, it's a fantastic way to experience, again, a genuine classic, and it's one I'm glad more people will get to discover. Chillin by the Fire is, well, you guessed it, a chilled experience. It's a social campfire simulator where you chop wood, stack it, and keep the flames going while chatting with friends online. It's more of a relaxed activity than a traditional game, and it really feels like, well, let's face it, a camera tech showcase rather than a full Switch 2 title. But if you do want something calm to try with this new hardware, it's at least an option. Cronos is a tense third-person survival horror game where enemies can literally merge together mid-fight to create something way worse. And the dark, detailed environments, I actually think they look really decent on Switch 2. Now you play as a traveller, navigating a bleak post-apocalyptic world and jumping back through time to uncover the cause of a deadly pandemic. You're trying to save humanity. And the performance, mostly solid, which really helps sell the atmosphere here. But I will warn with this game, it's definitely one of the harder experiences. But yeah, if you like feeling hunted, this one, it delivers. Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition still feels like the look what this hardware can do moment. You know, Cyberpunk on the go, Phantom Liberty included. It's just incredible. Now you're playing as Fee, a merc in Night City, trying to survive a job gone wrong and carve out your own path in a world of gangs, corporations, and cyber-enhanced chaos. Now the frame rate, it wobbles in the busiest areas, I won't deny that. But the world looks sharp, the atmosphere absolutely holds up, and the new mouse-style controls, they just feel right at home. Handheld play especially is just incredibly impressive for a game of this size. So yeah, like it's not flawless, but genuinely one of the best showcases for what the Switch 2 can pull off. Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion keeps the fast aerial mech action from the original, and it still feels great here to boost around and just blast away enemies. Now you're playing as a pilot, basically fighting alongside humanity. It's all like resistance, tyrannical empires, immortals, all sorts of stuff going on. Kind of war-torn world craziness. But the mechs in this sequel are now closer to human size rather than the huge imposing machines from that first game, and for me, for that reason, didn't quite hit the same way. Now the performance here, it's fine overall, and fans will still have fun with the combat. It just doesn't feel like the huge step forward I was hoping for. Dear Me, I Was is a short visual novel following a woman through different stages of her life, with light interaction throughout. The only real reason it's exclusive, though, is the mouse-style control support. Basically, do not expect this game to push the hardware. It didn't fully land for me, I'll be transparent about that, but there is a community that absolutely just adores it. And at around an hour long, it's definitely an easy one to try if you want something a little different. Donkey Kong Bananza? This is an absolute win. Nintendo finally gave DK the treatment he deserves. Now this time DK's out to stop a new threat to his island, and what that means is just smashing through everything. It looks fantastic, especially with all of the particle effects just flying around the screen. And yeah, Sure, the frame rate because of this, it wobbles occasionally, but when it is steady, it is genuinely just stunning, and it's really a proper showcase for the character and for the system. So come here for big moments and a level of polish that makes it feel like, yeah, this is like a real highlight for the new system. Dragon Drive is a fast-paced 3-on-3 sports game. Here you're going to be steering wheelchair-style vehicles. You're going to be using the new mouse mode Joy-Con. And it's a really smart idea, and it's actually a really good way to test the hardware. I think really decent customization, online play, the mouse is in constant effect. But for me, the presentation feels kind of, I don't know, cheap, and overall, yeah, just didn't quite click enough for me to justify spending much of any real time with it. I guess, like, look, if you like quick multiplayer matches and want to try the new controls, it's an option. Farming Simulator Signature Edition promises to bring the series to Switch 2 with more detailed equipment, better crop physics, and much larger environments to work in. It is the first proper farming sim built for the new hardware, so if you're into that peaceful grind of planting fields, upgrading machinery, and running your own operation, yeah, this may be the way to do it. Now, at time of recording, I will say it's not out, so I cannot comment, but for the sake of making this a complete list of 2025, it's here. Fast Fusion is an indie gem. If you like games like Wipeout, just buy it, no question about it. It is fast, it handles well, and the developers, they clearly put a ton of effort in. But yeah, expect here multiple visual options, so you can push performance or go all in on graphics. I love that. And then it even got a free update, adding extra tracks, which shows they're supporting it. So yeah, it's a great showcase game, and absolutely one worth having in that library. Full Metal Schoolgirl is a cyborg schoolgirl action game with roguelite elements. And you're going to be climbing a constantly changing tower floor by floor. Now the gameplay here, it's really all about kind of quick close quarters fights and upgrading gear between runs. And yes, they sell bikini DLC, so the target audience is pretty clear. I'd say it's fine for a bit of mindless fun. The mechanics are very basic, honestly, and it didn't really stick with me personally. But if you're into over-the-top arcade-style action, it might be worth a consideration. Goodnight Universe is one I really enjoyed. You're basically a baby developing these strange psychic abilities, and this whole story, it plays out through your family. Things start to go very wrong, they're witnessing it. It's emotional, it's unusual, it's definitely more about the experience than the gameplay. But if you like narrative-driven games that try something different, it's a fantastic one. Just don't go in expecting any sort of action. It is very much all about that story. Handy Hockey is air hockey, using the new mouse-style controls, and it supports up to 4 players on one console. Now, if we were a couple of years into the Switch 2's life, we'd be calling this most likely shovelware, but right now it's early enough that it's just a simple little multiplayer thing to mess around with, but it has the addition of mouse controller options. Hitman World of Assassination looks gorgeous on the system. The lighting, the detail, the crowd density, it all really shows what Switch 2 can do. At launch though, the frame rate definitely struggled in busier areas, which was, yeah, a little disappointing. They did patch it though, but instead of boosting performance, they added an optional 30 FPS limiter. Now, it's still a fantastic stealth sandbox, and it's great to have portable, but it is a little disappointing about the frame rate. I wanted to see them improve it, not just put this kind of barrier in place. Hopefully one day I'll get it to 60. This is almost representative, I think, of what we're going to see from the upcoming 007 game in 2026. But all of this said, like, if you're a stealth fan, play it. It's absolutely incredible. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. It's the newest warrior-style Zelda spin-off. It's got that familiar formula of, mowing down huge crowds of enemies and tackling massive bosses. The big win here, though, is performance. It runs smoothly, and that is a massive improvement over the first entry that just struggled so much on Switch 1. However, as a warning, it's not a typical Zelda game. It's loud, it's repetitive action at its core, but if you do enjoy that kind of power fantasy and just want to smash stuff, then this, yeah, very solid pick. Kirby Air Riders is a fast mix of racing and arena battles where you hop on different hover machines and boost, spin, and smash your way around these extremely colourful stages. Now, the big draw here is City Trail. It's a free roam mode where you explore, power up your machine, and then face off in a final event. It keeps every match, yeah, kind of wild. Now, some will say here, but just get Mario Kart. but they're completely different vibes. This is all about unpredictable, over-the-top experiences, and yet I think personally it delivers it very well, and it can absolutely live alongside Mario. Kunitsu Gami is one of my favorites from the launch window. This is like the hidden gem for me. It's an action strategy blend where you guide a sacred maiden through corrupted lands, placing units in real time and slicing through enemies while protecting her. It makes really smart use though of mouse style controls for movement and attacks, and visually it looks really good. So like if you want something different that feels honestly unlike anything else on any system, this is probably that one. Madden 26 finally brings NFL back to Nintendo, and as someone who's wanted a proper handheld Madden for years, it is great to have. The disappointing part is performance. It runs at 30 instead of 60, and visually it is way more downgraded in my opinion than I think it needs to be. It's still totally playable and not bad looking either, just not the next gen on the go moment I was actually hoping for. But like if you're a fan of the sport like me, it's still a nice option to have. Mario Kart World is the big new entry in the series. It's still classic kart racing at its core with the tight handling and item-based racing that everyone knows, but this time they've added in open area exploration. So basically you'll be visiting these between events. Now I'm not completely sold on that direction, but the pure racing and the online modes, great fun. There's also a battle royale option, and that just keeps me coming back every week. It's kind of my end of day game. But yeah, you're going to be hard pressed to find a Switch 2 owner without this in their library. Nintendo GameCube Classics then isn't a traditional buy this game situation. It's currently a small collection of 6 titles that you can play if you've got Nintendo Online plus Expansion Pass membership. Now it includes the Wind Waker, F-Zero GX, Soul Calibur 2, Mario Smash Football, Chibi Robo, and Luigi's Mansion. It's a fantastic selection. It is well worth having, and there's more games of course on the way. However, I am a bit disappointed that it's locked behind Switch 2 and Switch 1 owners are just, being left out. Persona 3 Reload is an incredible remake of one of the most influential JRPGs ever made. Now here you're leading a group of students who uncover the Dark Hour. This is a hidden 24th hour where time freezes, monsters roam, and an enormous tower just rises in the center of this city. Now by day, you're going to build relationships. By night, you're diving into that tower to fight shadows. Now sadly, it's capped at 30 FPS on Switch 2, but the presentation is gorgeous. And there's a massive DLC expansion if you want to, spend more cash. For RPG fans though, it's essential. Power Wash Simulator 2 is exactly the sequel you'd expect. The first game, but bigger, cleaner, and way smoother. The visuals are sharper, the tools are better, and the whole scrape every last bit of dirt of a ridiculous object loop is still addictive. It won't surprise you, honestly, but if you love the original, it's just a fantastic upgrade. Relay Advanced Definitive Edition is one I actually haven't played myself, and honestly didn't even realize it existed until putting this list together, and that's exactly why I think these videos are so useful. It is though a full mech strategy RPG from the team behind God Wars, and it packs in the main campaign and then a ton of DLC. And here, you're going to be commanding Stellar Gear mechs in full 3D battles, managing systems like aggro, skills, backstabs, and then of course, big special attacks. If you are a fan of kind of like old school grid-based mech strategy games, it seems like this is definitely one worth knowing exists. The Steam reviews seem a little bit all over the place. Transparently, I've been digging into it. But yeah, this one completely passed me by. RippleIsland Carl & Kel's Restaurant, it isn't out yet, but for the sake of making this a complete list of every exclusive in 2025, it's here. It's a co-op cooking game with a really charming vibe, up to 16 players online or local. You're going to be gathering ingredients, cooking dishes, and racing through stages. There's even a full story mode built around a cooking tournament on a mysterious island. Again, haven't played it, so I can't comment on performance, what the game is like, but it seems like if you kind of like a overcooked style vibe with a bigger multiplayer twist, this could be a fun one to watch. Skate Story is one I actually reviewed recently, and that actually goes for a lot of the games in this one, so I'll be linking everything down below for you all. But this one, it instantly became one of my favourite Switch 2 experiences. And you play as a demon made of glass and pain. You're given a skateboard by the devil with one simple mission: skate to the moon and eat it. It is surreal, it's stylish, and the flow of carving through these neon locations, it feels incredible. Now here you're going to get 2 modes, quality and performance. but both usually sit around that 40 to 50 FPS mark. Honestly, for me, this game looks so stunning. I actually did a rare thing. I stuck with quality. But yeah, its atmosphere, it is incredible. It looks stunning, so I wanted to see it in all of its glory, and it has one of the best soundtracks I've heard in years. Split Fiction is a co-op adventure where you and a partner play two characters. You've basically been trapped by this organization. You're novelists, and they're trying to steal your ideas. One's a sci-fi writer, one's a fantasy writer, and basically you're going to be jumping between both of these worlds. It's very cool stuff. It looks incredible as well. But I will warn with this one, the install size is huge. The real standout here though is the friend pass. One person buys the game, the other then downloads a free client, and they can play the entire story with you. I love that system. More co-op games should do it. But yeah, like if you've got someone you can play with regularly online, this is a polished, visually incredible exclusive that is absolutely worth grabbing. SpongeBob SquarePants Titans of the Tide is a throwback 3D platformer. Simple, colourful, very in line with older SpongeBob games. But yeah, basically there's this clash between the Flying Dutchman and King Neptune, and it sends Bikini Bottom into chaos. Now, you're going to be swapping between SpongeBob and Patrick. One of you a ghost, one of you normal, and it's kind of, that's the whole vibe of this. But yeah, expect to be platforming, grappling, burrowing, and cleaning up the mess. I'm still working through it myself, but so far feels like properly old school, you know, really like just fun, simple action. But yeah, fully voiced, packed with loads of locations you're going to recognize, and just, yeah, an easy, nostalgic experience. So if you like the classic SpongeBob games, I think this one, yeah, fits right in. Squirrel with a Gun is another Switch 2 exclusive that launched with almost no fanfare, and it's exactly what it sounds like. If you like Goat Simulator style of chaos, this is very much in that realm, you know, physics-driven nonsense, weird little puzzles, and a concept so ridiculous it's hard not to smile. Now, I've been playing it and yeah, it's janky. Visually rough, mechanically messy, but that's also at the same time, for many of the players who enjoy these, part of the charm. But what is the concept? Well, you're a squirrel causing mayhem, you're blasting agents across gardens, and you're even using gun recoil to launch yourself all over the shop. If this kind of sandbox silliness is your thing, it does the job. But if it's not, I promise you, nothing here is going to convert you. Star Wars Outlaws had a very strange launch. Early reports claimed it was in rough shape, but once it actually dropped, it ended up looking fantastic. Honestly, it is one of the best looking games on the system right now. Now you're going to be playing as K-Fess, a small-time thief caught up in a bigger mess across the Outer Rim. And while it definitely leans into that familiar Ubisoft structure, you know, lots of side content, lots of map clutter, it's still a fun, harmless spin on the Star Wars universe. Once again, like many Ubisoft games, it doesn't always have the strongest personality, but I still enjoyed it. So if you want a big cinematic adventure that shows off the hardware, it's a really good choice. Street Fighter 6 is an incredible fighter. It's a massive, fully featured entry in Capcom's flagship series, with classic arcade battles, a huge World Tour story mode, and a connected online battle hub. Now this version mostly delivers. Arcade fights and online play run locked at a crisp 60, and it is incredible. It's exactly what you want from a fighter, and visually, one of the better looking games on the system. The weird problem comes in though with World Tour mode, where fights drop to 30 FPS, and it just feels off compared to the rest of the package. Weird decision, honestly, I don't really get it, but like if arcade and online are your thing, and that's kind of the meat of the package, honestly, this one, incredible. Survival Kids is the only launch game I didn't play on day one, but I did end up circling back to it, and honestly, for the audience it's aiming at, it's totally fine. This is a colourful, kid-friendly co-op survival game where 4 kids end up washed onto this chain of islands after a storm. And from here, chop trees, gather materials, and really just craft your way to safety. It's been built around the Switch 2 as well, which is nice, but not in the most exciting ways at the same time. There are some communication options and a game sharing feature. But look, if you want something laid back or casual, or maybe you have younger gamers in the household, it could be an option. 2 Point Museum is an easy recommendation if you love management games. This is the kind of sim where you can blink and yeah, you've lost 100 hours building huge museums. Think tweaking layouts or chasing that perfect visitor flow. It's so simple to get locked in. Performance though is where it stumbles. It targets 30 FPS on Switch 2 and usually it sits just under that, especially once your museum really gets going. I actually expected a smoother 60 FPS option, but for this genre, it is still like totally manageable, and the core gameplay loop as addictive as ever. Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader isn't out at time of recording, but this is one of my most anticipated Switch 2 releases of 2025. I played a ton of this on PC, absolutely just adored it. It's a proper CRPG with deep choice-driven storytelling, great companions, and that classic Owlcat style where every decision has weight. Now, I can't speak to the Switch 2 build yet, obviously, but I really just fingers crossed on this one. I hope they've implemented mouse style controls. I hope it runs okay. I hope it looks okay, because this genre is a perfect fit for the system. If the port lands, in fact, this could easily end up as one of the standout RPGs on the system. Welcome Tour is a game that really should have been a pack-in at launch. It's basically a guided demo of the Switch 2's new features, mouse style controls, haptics, 120 FPS, camera tricks. It's all wrapped up then in a set of short mini games. I actually only picked it up recently, and honestly, it's exactly what I expected, an educational showcase. It's not terrible, and you can kill a couple of hours with it, but considering they actually charge for this, I'd personally take that money and put it towards almost anything else on this list. Wild Hearts S was one I played on PlayStation, and I always felt like it deserved more love than maybe what it was given. But yeah, it's a Monster Hunter style action game with big beasts, fast combat, and a building system that lets you drop structures mid-fight for dodging, blocking, or even countering in really creative ways. Now, the performance usually lands around 40 to 50 FPS, not the full 60 it's targeting, but it's still a fun, satisfying loop. So yeah, if you want a slightly different take on the hunting formula, this one was overlooked on other systems, and hopefully it manages to find more attention on Switch 2. WWE 2K25 is a surprisingly strong return for wrestling fans, especially after the disaster that was 2K18. Look how long it's been now since we've had a release. But this finally feels like a proper modern WWE game on the hardware. Think big roster, tons of modes, and performance that holds up far better than expected. The only real downside, and this has been getting worse and worse every single year, it just constantly harasses you about microtransactions. But if you can ignore it, this is easily the best wrestling experience we've had on a Nintendo system in years. And it looks great, honestly. Really impressed me in that sense. Yakuza 0 was one of my favorite Switch 2 launch titles. It's a prequel that really sets up the entire series with these two incredible characters, and you'll bounce between their stories across the neon nightlife of 1980s Japan. Expect to be juggling street brawls, heartfelt sub-stories, and that signature Yakuza blend of emotional drama and absolute just nonsense. It's incredible, honestly. I'm going to keep on saying it. But this new version then adds the red light raid mode. This can be played solo or in multiplayer. It's basically progressively challenging fights. The combat though feels incredible. The city holds up really well. Yeah, we're talking lock 60 with this one, and it's a fantastic way to just jump into what is now a massive series. So if you've never played a Yakuza game before, start here. Yakuza Kiwami 2 also dropped on the system, and it's a big one. This is the entry where the series moved to the Dragon engine, which means denser crowds, more detail, and a lot more going on visually. It looks actually really special. The trade-off though is that it runs at 30 FPS on Switch 2. But honestly, again, it looks so good in handheld and docked. Now, story-wise, it's continuing our journey. We're dragged back into clan politics and forced into gang conflict. But yeah, it also features one of the series' best ever antagonists, just driving behind the drama. Combat then, nice and weighty. The city is really alive. And with Kiwami 3 now confirmed as well, it really feels like the Yakuza future on Switch 2 is incredibly strong. You've got some, if you've not played this series before, you've got some incredible games ahead of you. Yooka Replaylee is a full remaster of the original collectathon, and it's a much bigger step up than I expected. The visuals and the animations, they've been completely overhauled. They look incredible. The world looks great, and the new map and challenge tracker, it finally makes it easier to explore without just getting lost constantly. Now, you are still here to stop Capital B from turning every buck into profit, but yeah, really good fun this one. Now, the only warning here, I guess, is it does run at 30 FPS. For now, at least, the team have confirmed a 60 FPS patch is coming, but at the moment, I'd say it's a gorgeous, nostalgic platformer, really gorgeous. Really good fit for the system as well. If you're a platformer, 3D platformer fan, you should absolutely buy it. We just need that last little bit here that give us that 60 FPS patch, and I think this will be considered in a few years an absolute classic. A quick note then before we do wrap this up, there's also a couple of Switch 2 exclusive DLC drops that just didn't make the main list today because the base game itself is on Switch 1. That's going to be Mario Party Jamboree TV and Kirby's Star Quest World. They are both Switch 2 only expansions. Both definitely worth your time. My only warning is Jamboree, obviously, like if you like Mario Party, worth it. Kirby, however, it's like 2 or 3 hours, so it's quite expensive for what you're getting. But yeah, that's the video down. Every Switch 2 exclusive available right now, or at least in 2025. If you're watching this like mid-2026, then hopefully this list now looks very different. But what do you recommend? What will you be picking up? Let me know in the comments. And maybe check out my list of free and paid Switch 2 upgrades next. They are on screen right now. Alright, subscribe if this helped you out, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers all.